At Gamescom earlier in the week, Xbox boss Phil Spencer discussed the possibility of Final Fantasy XVI and the 7 remake coming to the Xbox consoles. While he had nothing to announce, his answer seemed somewhat optimistic and explained how the relationship between Xbox and Square Enix has improved, with Square Enix making a commitment to the Xbox platform, which is something that we've seen signs of with Final Fantasy XIV recently being announced to be coming to the Microsoft system. To quote, "Sarah Bond and I fly to Tokyo and have conversations, and we spent a lot of time with Square. There's obviously business deals and relationships that will have to get worked through on certain games, but I'll say it was really great to have the CEO of Square and Yoshi there to just talk about their commitment to Xbox. Because I can say like, I'm the head of Xbox, blah blah blah, but having the CEO of one of the third parties make a commitment to the platform, I thought was a really meaningful step. So you'll hear more. I'm not going to push them, they're going to have to find their own rhythm, but having them make a commitment to Xbox was really important both to me, and I've heard it from the community to the community as well, and 14 was more of a commitment. The history between Xbox and the Japanese market has been a rough one, and this includes the relationship between Xbox and Square Enix. And so with the recent comments, today we'll be taking a fresh look at the current state of Xbox in Japan. This is something the channel has delved into at various points over the years, but there have been a number of developments recently that are worth taking a look at. Beginning with comments Phil Spencer made back in June about why he believes Xbox is facing difficulties getting more Japanese developers to release games on the system. He says, "It's not any one thing. Sometimes it's business deals that are done, sometimes the team has a focus that they're just, hey, we can only support 2 or 3 platforms, and they're kind of reducing development risk. It is real, every platform you add adds more work to the development team. Sometimes it's just a team that doesn't have a lot of connection to Xbox and they don't necessarily see it in their local game store when they walk in. It's even why our presence on the ground with Xbox, even if we're not selling as many consoles as the competition, if you go to Yodobashi Camera, I want there to be an Xbox section. I want there to be games that are shown. I also want the teams that are kind of on a base level that Xbox is a games platform and it's something they see in their daily lives. I love the progress that we've made over the last 5 or 6 years there, but there's obviously more work for us to do." His frank comments here paint quite an interesting picture of the situation. It expresses the company's desire to have a strong collection of Japanese titles. But Phil says that it's very hard to achieve that and get Japanese companies on board when there is such a lack of presence in the country in, for example, retail stores, which is something they don't have much control over. Xbox's desire to bolster its Japanese game support has been expressed consistently over the past few years. In 2021, Phil said that Xbox is working every single day to add more Japanese games to its lineup. And in the same year, Xbox announced that Japan was the company's fastest growing market. However, Phil's recent discussion about Xbox's situation with Japan happened to coincide with some comments the PlayStation boss made in June, where Jim Ryan made a surprise appearance during Final Fantasy XVI's pre-launch livestream and expressed that the relationship between Sony and Square Enix has, to quote, never been stronger. And so this is quite a contrast of words between the two console bosses. Other news that has come up in 2023 includes various details that have emerged from the FTC's investigation into Microsoft. During a hearing between the FTC and Microsoft, Phil Spencer took the witness stand where he confirmed that Sony had signed an exclusivity deal with Square Enix for Final Fantasy XVI, with him adding that deals like these are trying to reduce Xbox survival in the market. The legal hearing also saw an internal document release that revealed Microsoft considered buying Square Enix in 2019, and the document states that one of the core aims in considering the buyout was wanting to improve Xbox presence in Asian markets. Another recent development comes from March, where 11 members of the US Congress argued that Sony is engaging in anti-competitive behavior in Japan and unfairly harming Microsoft's ability to conduct business in the region. The criticism is bipartisan, with it including both Republican and Democrat senators, and both sides urging that action be taken. Members from both parties sent letters to the US Trade Representative as well as the US Commerce Secretary. The letters argue that the Japanese video game market is imbalanced, and stress concerns that this may be due to discriminatory trade practices that could violate the spirit of the US-Japan Digital Trade Agreement, and possibly violate Japanese antitrust laws. One of the letters also says, to quote, "The Japanese government's effective policy of non-prosecution when it comes to Sony appears to be a serious barrier to US exports, with real impacts for Microsoft and the many US game developers and publishers that that sell globally but see their earnings in Japan depressed by these practices. The letters then asked that these issues be raised with the Japanese government, and then at a later Senate hearing, the US Trade Representative responded and committed to looking into the issues in the future. And so that was back in March. However, alongside Phil's comments earlier in the week at Gamescom, Square Enix's CEO made a big announcement last month when he said that the company was planning on releasing games for Xbox wherever possible moving forward. In his comments, he stated, "As CEO of Square Enix, we want to continue to deliver fabulous games to fans across the world. And of course, we want to welcome the Xbox community as well. And starting with today's announcement of Final Fantasy XIV coming in spring 2024, and whenever possible, we are planning to bring our games to Xbox for players around the world to enjoy. We're really looking forward to working closely with Phil and the Xbox team to make this possible." And in response to this, Phil Spencer said, "We deeply respect the rich legacy of Square Enix, and we look forward to building on the relationship that we've established in bringing Final Fantasy XIV to the Xbox, and partnering closely with you and the Square Enix team on future games." As for Xbox sales in Japan so far, while seriously underperforming compared to Sony and Nintendo, Xbox Series is doing much better than Xbox One and the original Xbox did in the region. In July 2022, Xbox Series had already achieved more than double the sales of Xbox One, and last month it was revealed that Xbox Series has now outsold the original Xbox. What are your thoughts about Xbox situation in Japan? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, thank you for watching.